Okay, hey guys, how you doing? And welcome to another episode of SellerSPEAK. Today we have Myron Brandwine with us today. He started when he was in college, and it's been 15 years since he started selling on Amazon and other various e-commerce channels as well. Let's get to know him and let's learn what he's learned in his long journey of selling on online. Hey Myron, thank you so much for joining us today. And can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Thank you so much for having me. Ankita, right? Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much. Lovely to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me. And yes, you got that right. I started my Amazon journey or selling on Amazon when I was 16 years old. I needed some extra money to play video games and buy some things. So I basically started my Amazon trip by buying my peers' books at school. Normally, they would donate them or throw them away. And I found that by convincing them that I could pay them more money than the bookstore just by $1, they would all line up and sell me the books. And in turn, I would make a profit in Amazon. This was the first opportunity I had to really deal with the outside world in a major spectrum with a bunch of strangers that I never met and sell them things and make a profit. And it was really, really exciting because I parlayed that from high school to college. And in college, it actually became a business. I was able to make supplemental income for college for, extracurricular activities, going out and whatnot. And that was really part of my fuel that made me really love the Amazon story and eBay and selling in e-commerce in general, because the opportunities of finding any sort of item and reselling it to other people that are just able to also benefit from the opportunity that you're benefiting from is really what was very, very exciting for me at that time. It's not only the fact that I could make money to supplement my income, but also that I could connect with a web of strangers and make their lives better. And in turn, they were making my life better.
That's interesting. Great. And so you started selling books, right, when you started out, and how did you get into supplements and healthcare?
So, the books just gave me more or less the understanding of the back end of Amazon. And once I graduated college, I was working for a startup company that did a supplement called Dreamwater. We basically created the first shop that helps you relax or fall asleep, or as we called it, the world's worst energy drink. And we started growing little by little. First, I was in charge of a small area of stores in New England, and I would go store by store, knocking on doors and trying to get our product in, mostly on consignment. And the goal was to try to gather data, sales data that would then help us sell into bigger stores and then to district level, regional level, national level. And once we were able to accomplish that, I had, a knack for sales and marketing. They promoted me to manage a new challenge, which was e-commerce. And Amazon at the time was just ramping up their supplement category. I believe it was around 2004, 2005 when they started selling supplements, if I'm not, incorrect. And just a little bit after that is when we started doing that. I started basically out of pure luck that I met a buddy of mine before I even went to college whose family invested in this Dreamwater business. And we went to the same college. And by virtue of just knowing him and needing a job after college, doing sales and marketing, I was able to then land myself a job doing something that I already had some experience doing from high school all the way to after college. And ever since, I've taken roles in different companies. I've worked in major corporations, managing large portfolios of brands, multinational brands, and also done my own. And I've done consulting for smaller companies. And now I decided to do it on my own and be my own boss,
That sounds great. And how has your experience been so far with Amazon?
Well, it's a lot easier to make mistakes when you are using somebody else's money. Uh, not that I aim to make mistakes, it's not really the idea. But when you're making a purchase of your using your own capital, and you have to fire a bullet, and it's thousands of dollars, and now you're questioning, wow, am I going to have to mortgage my house if this doesn't go really well? It can get a little tricky. But the good thing is, I also had an interesting education and a background, very complete background. I also had finance, a very heavy finance background. And in finance, when you are investing in anything, fear and greed are two things that you must eliminate. You have to eliminate all emotion when you're dealing with these decisions. So I made sure that I created certain steps and formulas that would guarantee that I'm not making any decisions based on emotion. And it also ties into the use of apps like SellerApp. SellerApp is very mathematical in that it gives you all the data, it does a lot of analysis, and you really have to just know how to press a few buttons and type in the category or the items that you're looking for, and voila, like you have it all ready for you. So I was doing this in a much more archaic level when I started doing it on my own. And, it's very tedious and time consuming to create data tables and understand profitability per item, per SKU, per day, because it can fluctuate, and per season. But when you have it all done for you and you have some robot tracking it, it becomes really advantageous. You really have a lot of power as a decision maker, and it really takes out all the emotion. And that is the main important thing, that as your own boss, you have to really decide and hone in. Because if you're investing your own money, you really don't have that much room for making mistakes unless you're starting off with $1 million or more, and good luck, lucky you. And most of us are not that lucky, so you have to make difficult decisions. And sometimes it's 25% of your whole net worth or your whole capital that you are seeking to invest in one product that you want to launch. And this is very, very frightening. But if you have the data, and you can now make much better decisions, and remove the fear.
Hmm. Interesting. And I really like the fact that you actually lay the whole, importance on data and numbers instead of just going with gut instincts and just following other people and things like that. That's extremely important, to starting a business and running it successfully, I think. And can you tell us a little bit about your experience with selling on different e-commerce channels apart from Amazon?
Yes. So I've sold on Walmart.com. I've sold on eBay, and pretty much those three have been the biggest anchors of e-commerce. Even though I've also sold to e-tailers as big as iHerb, Vitacost, uh, Swanson, to name a few. Those guys are more, your businesses that are already established in the category, and there are some are pure play. They're only going to do e-commerce. Some of them are brick and mortar also, like GNC used to be. Um, and you really, really have to now manage a business and a brand, or portfolio of brands, the same way that, let's say, Procter and Gamble manages their brand. You have to be very careful as to how you manage the conversation with the customer, not only on Amazon or eBay or e-commerce, right? Which are technically the largest marketing platforms that you have nowadays. But you also have to keep in mind that you're dealing with customers that may also have a brick and mortar presence. And this already shapes and translates very differently when you have to think about the whole omni-channel presence, how to talk to the customers, pricing relationships, how the SKUs are going to be even packaged and bottled and presented, merchandised. It does really create a much bigger challenge when you're dealing with multiple e-tailers. You want to make sure that you are staying true to your brand, you're staying true to your demographic, but also you have to have some wiggle room in that you can and will have to adapt to the mercy of the retailer and the marketing platform that you're using, because all of them are going to be different and all of them are going to challenge you one way or another. That you have to be always on your tippy toes, because if you're not, the competitor will.
Interesting. And do you think new entrants would stand a chance against these big giants?
There's always disruption in every in every economy, in every market, in every industry. But you propose a very good question. I don't know. I think supplement itself is it's such a tricky category, because to enter a category with disruption, you have to be you have to have strong muscles, okay? And sometimes strong muscles, if you don't have the right capital behind you, it means that you don't have the right research and the right funding. And then how can you produce something and make claims that it cures cancer, for example, if you don't have $1 billion and a whole team of researchers and doctors, right, behind the idea that you're proposing? So I have a hard time imagining how Facebook could happen in the world of items. How can someone just all of a sudden create a software, but the conditions are that biotech and some Mark Zuckerberg out there might come up with an app that, by being able to detect if you have cancer or cure your diabetes, I don't know. But seriously, by helping millions of people address a particular issue, they can corner that particular market. And from there, they can now disrupt the rest of the market by introducing new products, services, and drugs. So it's probably going to come more from biotech and from the service sector.
Interesting. And so, what do you think about maybe private labeling or retailers who start fresh by, I mean, they need not be manufacturers themselves, by buying, yeah.
Yeah, private label is always a great game for a retailer because, of course, they make better margins. They get the customers to buy everyday low price, come back to the store. So, I just don't see that the private label in itself is a driver for innovation. It's a driver for copying what's already existing and using that as a way to get the customer in. So, yeah, it's great because customers now that are already used to, buying an option that maybe they bought for $40 a multivitamin that was 90 days or 150 counts, now they can get it for $20 at Walmart and save themselves some money. So there's a huge opportunity there for private label in big retail if they are copying the market leaders, or basically making a deal with the market leaders. Hey, I'll give you this much shelf space, but you have to make my multivitamins. But it doesn't excite me. I don't like it. I like innovation. I want to see what happens next, and I want to be at the forefront. Maybe not be the guy that comes up with it, but I want to be looking at the guy or the girl that's driving the car, taking us ahead and seeing where we're going, because this is really the future. I mean, biotech is really what's going to dominate. We're all going to want to live, longer. We are going to be able to mutate our DNA or maybe, manipulate it in a way that we won't get sick, perhaps. And all of this juxtaposed to AI and what's going to happen with the AI and the whole challenge of, are robots going to dominate, or are we going to stop them? Or that's all really, 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 my mind is where it takes me,
Yeah, that's that's quite interesting. Who's going to dominate? Will that be robots or will that be humans? It's quite interesting. And
yeah, maybe we can come up with a multivitamin for a robot. I don't know.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows? And it's quite interesting to see this has been a recurring theme. And most of the Amazon sellers that I've interviewed so far have really emphasized the fact that you have to innovate. You just, I mean, there's no scope for copying others anymore, or maybe just buy an existing product and resell it anymore. Because I mean, given that Amazon is getting, not just Amazon, in fact, just e-commerce space is getting so competitive every day, that you have to innovate. And that's a great thing, I think. Even for consumers, it's a great thing to keep getting access to new products every day, new innovations. I think it's a great trend that I see now.
I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. I don't know if I can withstand the pressure. No, seriously. Jokes aside, I'm currently talking to a few factories. So a factory in China that I'm talking to about a retinol product, he's pushing to try to get me to buy into the same retinol packaging product that everybody has, that I've seen a million times for the past 3 years. And I know already the margins don't make sense because I'm going to have to attract the other guys that already have a billion reviews, 5 stars, really high level BSR, right? For what? To make $1 if I actually make it, if I'm lucky enough to make it. So I started thinking, okay, how can I make this product better? What is the trend? So I'm looking at cannabis or hemp, right? Hemp-oriented products. And maybe mixing retinol with hemp is going to yield a much better cream. So I looked it up, and there's already 20 of those. So, by the time you're already thinking of this idea, I love the fact that we're always challenged to innovate no matter what. And this is what e-commerce does, because by the time that you think of an idea that you think, oh, eureka, I got it. This is the best product ever. Let me go manufacture it. By the time you talk to the guy, they already launched 3 more ahead of you.
Yeah,
so you gotta be. But seriously, I really, really, really think that maybe we need to chill out a little bit on this, because I don't know what's gonna happen if we go to innovate too fast.
Yeah, so you actually bring up an interesting question here. So what can beginners do? How can they actually enter the market given high BSR and high review rate and everything? Not high review rate, but given that top sellers have some thousands of reviews already, how can they compete with that?
If I had the answer, I swear to God, I wouldn't tell you. No, look, at the end of the day, there's no magic wand. Nobody has a perfect formula for anything, okay? The market is always at equilibrium, and you will always find maybe a small edge doing something better than the other guy. And what you really have to hone in and focus on is really delivering service, delivering what your consumers want and what you promise them. And always, 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 always be ready to make up something even better. Because the moment that you really don't have the foot on the pedal, you are left with Macy's, Sears, and everybody else, JCPenney, that are going to be left, back in history. So as sad as it is, this is the moment where people have to be real with themselves, look in the mirror and say, you don't stop innovating. If you stop innovating, and if you stop giving service, if you stop taking care of your customers, and you don't develop a brand, you will not be able to succeed. Now, one idea that I do think could work for a lot of people is to think about how other peripheral services or products or value can you give to your customers. So, one example, let's say that you're in the supplement industry and you want to create a new multivitamin, and you don't feel so excited because you know what? There's other 3 products that are kind of similar to yours. You have been able to differentiate yourself somewhat, but you're not really that much different. what about an application that reminds your customers to take the vitamins, that helps them sleep at night by playing some tunes that are really, I don't know, classical music, birds chirping, uh, and really caters to a particular demographic that you really find out what is it that drives them, what is it that makes them happy, and what do they want out of life. Okay, if you figure what this group of people want out of life, and you can provide that for them in a different way, now you are really differentiating yourself because you're complementing your product with another product or another service, and you're also starting to monopolize the time of your consumer. This is what Facebook, Google, Amazon, Microsoft, the largest companies in the world, largest market cap companies, are doing. They all want to monopolize your time. So this is the largest secret that I will give you that I think I haven't been able to break it yet, but I really think this is the secret to how to win in a market that is so competitive. Everybody is always innovating, is adding value to the customer and really understanding what is it that makes them happy.
Yep. Yeah, I completely agree with you. So what you're saying is analyze the market demand supply gap, and then wherever there is a gap, you try and find a product that fits and delivers new kind of value to consumers, right? So I agree with you.
Absolutely. Maybe the podcast is what our consumers want to listen to. I mean, I believe I'm boring. Maybe they want to listen to you, but but maybe maybe the content. The content is also important. We all know that in marketing, in e-commerce especially, emails, email lists, and content, not content that you haphazardly find and copy paste, not content that you have your 12-year-old niece write, for homework, but content that really, really, really matters to you and your customers, that you know it's going to connect, and that it took your heart, soul, tears, blood, sweat to make happen. That is the world we live in today. If you want to stand out, you have to bleed and you have to sweat more than everybody else.
Yep.
That's it.
Yeah. And now that, okay, let's assume that you have like a very good product that is going to deliver a lot of value. So the next step would be, how do you get visibility? What do you think is in your experience, what has worked for you?
Well, for one, I, do the ABCs, of course, get the right pictures, get the right A plus page content, all the stuff that you're going to read in every single page you find online. And then the one thing that I really like and that has worked for me is not to go to the long tail keywords, okay, and not to go to the top category dominated keywords that you're going to be spending $3 to $20 competing, okay, but go somewhere in the middle. The middle is where I like to play because in the middle there's a lot of room for either you mess up or you win, okay, and when you win is when you find a keyword that is not so highly trafficked, but it's still relevant enough that it brings you and your product, your brand, enough value that you gotta now swing it out of the ballpark. I like to go after those keywords with an introductory offer. I try to set pricing, MSRP higher, okay, and then wherever you feel comfortable based on your profit margin needs and the competitors' availability of products and what they're selling it at, you want to price your product at an attractive, hopefully below $20. Uh, and really, you do your SRP at double, and then you do an offer that's at least 50% discount. You drive this offer, and always before you launch, please have a budget for marketing. I cannot tell you how many people I've seen launching a product, and the budget is okay. Production, shipping to FBA. Oh, great! You thought of all the essentials, but guess what? If you don't have marketing budget, your product is never going to get exposure. And good luck to you on your next launch.
Yeah. Definitely. Like I know a lot of sellers who don't count marketing budget in, and when they start selling, and then when they calculate profit, and they're always like, "Oh my God, what have I done?" And now I have to spend so much, and this is cutting way too much into my profit. I'm not making any money. And I think definitely, definitely, this is one of the things that everybody can take away from this. No, marketing would be
Absolutely.
very important. Yeah.
Absolutely. Look, sometimes in chess, you sacrifice the queen. Now, 99% of chess players will never sacrifice the queen because it's so much panic. How do you do this? This is crazy. I have never done it myself. But sacrifice the queen in this context, I mean, maybe you have a great idea and you have a great product, but if you don't give it away for break even, you cannot build a brand. Okay, but maybe this is the way to build a brand. You get a few products that are hitters, they're anchors, and you get them in the hands of people that are going to come back and buy another one because you give them a 10% or 15, 20% more on the packaging that to come back to your store. So why not break even today to make profit tomorrow? At the end of the day, anytime that you break even, but you prevent them from buying your competitors' products, you're going like this as it pertains to real estate and market share. So, hey, sometimes breaking even is the goal if you really want to make profit in the future. And the people that have the stamina, the patience, and the understanding that this is also a and the nature of the beast because there's so many products, so many people fighting for the same market share. Sometimes the guy that breaks even for a whole year or 2 years and really struggles is the winner.
Yep, yep, definitely.
Look at
And
Amazon. Amazon lost money for so many years.
yeah, yeah, that's a great example, isn't it? Yeah, yeah, definitely. And coming to our last question, can you tell us a little bit about your experience with SellerApp?
Yeah. Okay, so Seller app right now is my favorite app in the whole world because
Woohoo!
yes. So when I started signing up for Seller app, I was really excited to start working on my new projects, which are new products and new brands that I was starting. But at the time, I was a little short of capital, and something happened in my personal life that I just needed to allocate capital for something else, and I didn't count on margin of safety. By the way, always have margin of safety. Never really put money that you don't have, that you need to pay the bank or you need to pay Uncle Joey, uh, unless nothing. Don't do that. That's a bad idea. Always have a margin of safety. Don't put yourself in a difficult situation in which your life is always going to be, always going to be paying behind. You know, you want to be at a comfortable point before you go and launch. But anyway, I started my subscription when I needed more capital. Okay, and I knew I could make more money by finding different products and brands that I have already worked with in the past they wouldn't have a problem selling me their products or the distributors, and I would resell at minimum advertised price. Please respect other brands' pricing if you want people to respect yours. Very important. Um, and then when I finally started using SellerApp, the number one thing that got me was how to find a niche idea because I could not wait to stop selling other people's products and all those brands that would give me 10% margin or less. I was like, already like, please stop. Why do I have to sell 500 bottles to make $5? This makes no sense. So once I started using the find a niche, I really had to hone in on which market do I want to start with. So I started with health and household and personal care. And I'm not going to tell you guys which product I'm going to launch, but I found myself a little jewel. I found myself a big jewel actually. There is a huge opportunity when you look at, okay, for those of you that are watching, this is super important, the most important thing you ever learn about Amazon, okay? Companies that are established, that have brands that are sold in retail, have to pay a distributor, they have to pay the retailer, right? And then the consumer has to buy the product. So the consumer is paying for the retailer cut, the distributor cut, and the manufacturer cut. On Amazon, you can have the direct-to-consumer route. Find a niche in which companies, very few companies are battling because it's not a huge industry. Okay, you're not going to become rich tomorrow. Uh, Find a niche in which these companies are battling, but they're offering products that they also sell on retail. Because when they sell on retail, they cannot sell on Amazon for cheaper. If they sell for cheaper on Amazon, they destroy the retailer's ability to make money. And then the distributor cannot make money. And then their whole retail operation goes out. And then they're only an e-commerce company. Now, if you find companies that are competing and they also have retail presence, you can go and take their market share by offering a cheaper price, same or better products, and take that market share away. You started trying those keywords because guess what? Now you're selling for cheaper, or if you're selling for the same price, you're not paying a retailer, you're not paying a distributor. That margin that you have, you invest in marketing and you take that market share away and you hone in at those keywords really hard. And eventually, I promise you, you find that niche, you will win.
That's brilliant. Thanks, Myron. I think that's a brilliant strategy. And all of the things that you talked about today, I think it's going to add a lot of value, especially to new sellers who want to start selling supplements, especially, or enter this market, you know. I think this is going to sort of help them get insights into how to start and what are the things that they need to have in place in order to start selling, or even to decide if this is for them or not, you know. And especially about the last part where you talked about finding the right niche. That is really good. And I think now we've come to the end of the interview. So thank you so much, Myron, for joining us today. Yeah, thank you so
much. Thank you a million times. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Myron. And thank you guys for joining us today. And do share and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and also follow us on Facebook. Do head over to SellerApp and get a 7-day free trial. Stay tuned and join us for the next episode. Thank you so much.